is not a flower, but it plays one on TV. I drew this myself. You like that? It's my little artist signature there. You can order this online, $19.99.95. That's $1,999.95. Peopleonahill.org. Pretend you're a little kid or an alien from another planet, just for a minute, and you come to me and I tell you, this is a flower. Would you agree with me? Seems a simple proposition. Sometimes I have these moments with my daughters where I describe something to them, I'm trying to teach them something, and they give me a different reaction than I expect. I just expect them to agree. I'll make something up. I'll tell my daughter, that's not a spider web, that's a cobweb. And she'll say something like, well, I'm not so sure about that. Or she'll say, well, I don't think so. And I get frustrated, and that's probably because of my insecurity. But sometimes I wonder if it bothers God that we don't agree with Him. You know, He gives us something like this. And we're like, ooh, I like that part, but I don't like that part. That part must not be true. I don't agree with that. I don't think He gets frustrated like I do, but I wonder if it hurts His heart when He tells us wonderful things and we don't agree. And yet we go and say, oh, He's bigger than us, He's smarter than us, He knows everything, we don't. But we're not willing to agree with Him when He tells us stuff. Something really powerful happens when we do agree with God, as we'll see in our verse in the Song of Songs today. Song of Songs, chapter 2. Yes, we made it through chapter 1. Woo! Chapter 2, verse 1. It reads, I am the rose of Sharon, the lily of the valleys. Now, gotta say, this is another one of those verses that translators throughout time have really disagreed on who is talking. Some say it's the bridegroom, that it's Jesus. Some say that it's the bride, the Shulamite. I have personally landed on that. I think it's the bride. I think it's the church. I think it's us. I'm totally fine with the other interpretation. It works, but I think it's real powerful. I think it's I think there's a lot that leads us to believe that it is the bride. I read that was a pretty traditional Jewish way of interpreting it, so I feel good about that interpretation. That's the one I'm going with for this, but I'm okay with you if you think it's Jesus talking. That's fine. Okay, so she says, I am the rose of Sharon, the lily of the valleys. She's been soaking in the presence of Jesus, in His amazing, outrageous love for her. He's been telling her over and over again, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, my darling, you're like this, you're like that, I love you, you're beautiful. And she's beginning to believe Him. And she's beginning to agree with Him. She says, I am the rose of Sharon. Now again, there's a lot of disagreement about what kind of flower this is really talking about, the rose of Sharon. It's certainly not what you and I in North America would call the rose of Sharon. It's probably not that flower. And honestly, I don't know what flower it was. I read a bunch of stuff and nobody seems to agree, and so I'm not even going to touch that argument, but just say she's seeing herself as a flower. She's seeing herself as beautiful. She's beginning to see herself as fragrant, and she's beginning to confess it. She goes on and says, I am the lily of the valleys. Now, of course, a lily typically white. There's a sense of purity there. It's fragrant. But this lily, it's not talking about a type of lily, like, oh, that over there, that's the lily of the valleys. It's talking about a location of lily. This is a lily that has grown in the valley, the low place. And she is beginning to recognize that much of her growth has happened in the low places of life. She's beginning to see that as she walked through that valley of the shadow of death, Christ was with her. He was comforting her and guiding her, nurturing her, nourishing her, feeding her, and she grew. And that's where her beauty has begun to really bloom in the low places of life. I was talking with my tax man this morning, and we had a great conversation about the Lord and how amazing it is that He takes us through these terrible things in life. I mean, terrible stuff happens. It just does. And somehow He gets us through it, and He gets us to turn around and look back on it and thank Him for it. That's just beyond me. When everything in us would think we'd be bitter and offended and shaking our fist at Him, and remembers the times that we were, and yet somehow He's healed our hearts and gotten us to look back on it and see, you know, you were with me and you did something really good there. That low place of my life was a major place of growth. And that's what she's beginning to see here. I am the lily of the valleys. One more thing about this lily. I understand that it would have grown tall and slender, very slender stalk, and a big, beautiful bloom at the head, but would have been unable to support its own weight without some support from, say, a trellis or the rocks growing, rocks on the ground around it. Rocks don't grow on the ground. And I think it's a beautiful picture of our dependence on Jesus. That our beauty cannot be displayed without His supporting presence. That we have to lean on Him and grow on Him. Praise God that we were not born to be self-sufficient. Praise God that we weren't born for loneliness and isolation. Praise God that we were born for dependence on Him. That's a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. This verse in the Song of Songs marks a real change in the bride's journey into the love of Christ. She's beginning to agree with what He says about her. Not just hear it, but agree with it, believe it for herself, and confess it. I want to encourage you. This is an essential element of our own journey into the love of Jesus. I want to encourage you to begin to agree that God is right in saying that you are beautiful. Don't argue with Him. Begin to believe it. Apply faith in your heart. Okay, I believe it. I choose to believe it that I'm beautiful in God's eyes. Even begin to confess it. I am beautiful because He says I am. Beloved, this is not vanity. This is worship. This is worship of the one who makes our beauty bloom in the lowest places of life. God is worthy of our agreement. He's worthy of your agreement that you are the rose. You are the lily.